It's one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda, hard to argue points, but I'll argue it anyway. Without Jesse Jackson, would it be possible for Barack Obama to be here today? Those loyal to the Reverend say, no, it would not. But the fact of the matter is that Jesse Jackson of then, a man who came very close to disrupting the Democratic establishment and almost getting nominated himself, a man who electrified the 1984 Democratic Convention crowd, is at best an ancillary player this go-round. How does he feel about that? And the role that many say he laid the path for when Barack Obama today. Jesse Jackson now. And he is here now. Reverend, very good to have you. Thank you very much for coming.
Good to see you again, sir.
How's your son, by the way? How's he feeling?
Well, it's tough, a bit fragile, but I think it's on the man. It's going to take time. You can't put a timetable to it. We're just hoping, pray for his recovery.
Now, you have been forthright, and you said that he needs his privacy and his space. I know you mentioned that he suffers from bipolar disorder and an intestinal ailment. Is it going to keep him off the campaign trail the rest of the year? Do you know?
You know, I don't know. That's a decision that he and his doctors have to make. His health care is first, and I don't want to be anything in this but a father that's like his mother, loving and available to him. And once he comes out of this, he can make a determination as to what his future options will be. He will choose.
Has he even gotten into that with you, Reverend?
Not really, and we've discouraged it. As a matter of fact, just focus on working out the challenges before him.
It's the last I'll indulge this private matter. I understand. You can understand in the fact that he's a public figure, and you're kind of a public figure. That a lot of people want to know whether he's up to the race, will finish the race, or should step down. Do you advise him to step down and deal with this?
At some appropriate time, we will know. He's enjoyed his job. He's done it well. He's been so fit for the task. He's totally consumed by it. But he's had to shift his priorities at this point. That is to focus on regaining his strength.
Is there any pressure to just being your son?
I would assume that there's good and bad pressure. The good pressure is you lift your aspiration level. The bad pressure, you keep applying pressure into yourself. But then that's a manageable pressure. We all want to be lifted up and not pulled down. I would like to think that what we've done across the years has set the pace for them. I couldn't be as home as much as I wanted to have been at that time. When I went to Cuba, I went to Iraq to bring soldiers back. I went to Yugoslavia and the like. I always took the boys with me to get a sense of what I do, and they have a great sense of social consciousness and people sensitivity. I like to think that whether Yusef, Jonathan, or Jesse, or Sandy, or Jackie, they all are acutely sensitive to the plight of poor people, and they have an amazing sense of foreign policy, because that was a dinner-time discussion at our household.
I always think about guys like you in the public spotlight, trailblazers, whether people agree or disagree with you, and I also think of this president and his role as a dad as well. It's kind of hard to juggle all of that.
But you know, you think about the great ball players, Ken Griffey following his dad, or Barry Bonds following his dad. It's a good thing to have someone around you who can lift your aspirations, as opposed to, we shouldn't settle for mediocrity, and we shouldn't adjust to failure. And so if there must be pressure, let it be pressure upward and not pressure downward.
Do you think this ticket is under pressure, talking all things politics right now, that it's dead even in the polls? Maybe Republicans got a little bounce, maybe Democrats got a little bounce, so we're back to dead even again. But this is not a place for a president, an incumbent president, to want to be.
Well, he's had to overcome some tremendous odds. One, interesting enough, is fighting to protect the right to vote, which is the most fundamental of all of the rights. You know, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina today. This is a new South. And it's a new South because the marches and civil rights activists were successful in opening up the South to voting rights. So blacks and Latinos and women 18-year-olds can vote. Because of that, you now can bring Boeing and Airbus south. You can bring, you couldn't have had the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons behind the cotton curtain.
Do you think it's fair, Reverend, in the quest for that to paint Republicans as racist simply because they ask that when you come up to vote, you show some proof that you're an American citizen?
I'm not sure whether it's just a matter of racist, as it is a terrible inconvenience that limits people's access. For example, if you make seniors...
Well, you need that to drive, right? You need that when you go to the airport.
No, why can't you use a utility bill? There are other forms. Many seniors don't have a birth certificate, so to have to buy one or travel a long distance to get one...
But you don't think it's racist for Republicans to...
No, because this affects more than just, in 1665, blacks didn't vote. White women couldn't serve on juries. 18-year-olds those serving in Vietnam could not vote.
So you still think racism is alive and well?
Well, it's very much alive, and we see it in so many ways. And yet, the counter rate, those who want to abolish it, are also alive and well. So in this struggle to be a better nation, we see breakthroughs, and it is the hope of becoming less racist and fairer that makes us better.
But you're a pretty fair and decent man in your own right. I wonder whether someone like you steps back and you hear when Republicans talk about welfare, it's a code word for racism. When you hear them talk about jobless benefits and trying to rein in their growth, or entitlements and trying to rein in their spending, that these are somehow elaborate code words to disenfranchise folks. Do you really agree with that?
Welfare Queen had a race overture, assuming that blacks on welfare didn't want to work, and they used examples of, I saw black women and children on the covers of Time and Newsweek magazine.
Right.
But welfare came into existence because all lines of poor white people. Most poor people are not black or brown. They're white, they're female, they're young. And food stamps help what? Help the farmer or the
But now we're
grocer,
glorifying food stamps. We're doing commercials like they're almost Coca-Cola commercials, glorifying them. Is that right?
Well, when Gingrich called president food stamp president, he was trying to be pejorative. The fact is, it's based upon need. There's a lot of people who need food stamps. A lot of people who need Medicaid, who need Medicare. And after all, government's job is to serve people's real needs.
No doubt, Reverend. I guess what I'm asking you is whether we've gone from providing for those who need it to making it cool to have it.
No, I don't think we're there. I think that the rich are more dependent upon tax subsidy and protections than the poor are upon welfare. Most poor folk work every day. They catch the early bus. They drive cabs.
And rich people don't?
They do, but my point is to assume that the rich have the power to demand tax cuts not linked to reinvestment, and the poor are dependent for Medicaid and for Medicare. Their lives depend upon those government services, and when they can work, they pay their bills.
Reverend, finally, I'd like to ask you, this all ends this week with the president accepting his party's nomination and speech in a stadium just down the road. 74,000 seats expected to be filled. Do you think they will be filled?
I hope they will be. President Barack has
What if they're not?
Well, I expect they will be. And
it's a very political answer.
There will not be an empty chair.
Okay. Okay.
It will not be an empty chair.
Are you going to make sure of that? Are you bringing people in?
I'll still be occupying my chair. And I think, I can't help but think that we are, because of the Voting Rights Act, because of Dr. King, we are a better South, we are a better nation. And I think about the fact that the automotive industry, which was gone 4 years ago, we're working 3 shifts an hour in Illinois and Ohio now. The people who were not insured are insured now. The Pell Grants have increased at a time when student loan debt's greater than credit card debt. I would like to think 100,000 troops home from Iraq. These are big items, and I think that President Barack will ride on his forward theme on those accomplishments.
We will see. Reverend, thank you so much.
Good to see you, sir.